Streaming again. Okay.
Nice.
I'm gonna re-pop out the chat here. Looks like we're live again.
Huzzah.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay,
I'm looking at it on my tablet.
All right. Watch, we lost our audience. What are you gonna do? Okay.
So dispassionate. We are back.
Well, you know, what are you gonna do? It lives. Okay, we do have some people. All right, let's continue the conversation.
Windy boys.
So we have what's called the press is dubbed a bomb cyclone in Michigan. So my particular area loses power a lot. Unfortunately, I don't know if it has to do with the grid or whatever, but during windy times we lose power. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. But normally it's just for an instant, but just enough to cut out the internet. So we are back, and here we are. So yeah, I guess let's get back into what we were talking about here. But basically, I think we were discussing just getting it done, getting her done, making sure that you were, actually contacting people. And that's important too, because the point that I was going to make before things cut out was that sometimes people are extremely busy. Right.
Yeah.
So I think of like a popular YouTuber and how just insane, like the insane number of emails. Like we get like a crazy number of emails, but it's like a drop in the bucket, I think, compared to what some other people get. And for me, I'm like crazy busy. So he had to contact me multiple times, and I was like, yes, I definitely want to do this. But then I just kept getting busy. But it's about the follow-up. He followed up with me, and we were able to schedule something. So it's like sometimes it's not taking no for an answer. It's understanding that sometimes check-ins are required with people.
Being diligent.
Yeah, being diligent, because if I were to, I don't know, like a job, right? So if I go to a job and I'm like, hey, I want this, I don't hear anything, I guess they don't want me. It's like, maybe send a follow-up email, call them, you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people nowadays are I'm not going to say who, but we have a mutual friend who I guess was upset that they weren't getting a job, and he was like, well, I applied to 8 places. Like nowadays,
apply to 9, apply to 10.
Yeah.
Keep going, just doing more.
Yeah, well,
that happens to me a lot. Like I've had that now, where again, I'm a little ashamed to say it, but I have Greg Miller's record beat with the amount of times I've applied to IGN, because I've been open about it. I've been open about it that I want to go there eventually at some point, and I want to do work with them, because they're obviously now the current point in time the biggest outlet when it comes to the games industry and pop culture and stuff. But really, it's about the consistency as far as like the perseverance of trying to stand out, and you're not always going to get that answer back. Perfect example is Alana Pierce. Alana Pierce did the same thing. She went through a very similar journey to the one I'm going through now, and she ended up eventually getting the job at some point. The problem is, though, I think we should also acknowledge is that sometimes it doesn't almost always end up that way, because there are instances in this industry and other industries too, where even the places where you're going to, sometimes you have to know when to cut off the line, as far as like you not only knowing your worth, but also knowing the amount of respect that you're at least owed in some way when it comes to professionalism and stuff like that. In my case, I'll give you a perfect example. In one of my shows for my YouTube channel, I was going to have a very big YouTuber, I'm not going to say the channel, but a very, very big channel creator come on my show, and as opposed to just telling me no, and as opposed to just telling me, hey, we can't do this right now or whatnot, they not only judged me for having less than 5,000 subscribers, but also ghosted me after telling me that to be ready by this day and time, which I think is not cool. So there are those instances like that, but you not only have to be able to roll with the punches, but also to know your value and be able to adjust accordingly. Call it audible on the play eventually.
Yeah. And sometimes as shitty as it is to have something happen like that, sometimes it's better, because then you're like, okay, I don't need to waste any more time with this line of work.
Exactly. And then to that other point, like nowadays, regarding resumes and stuff, even in a good economy, you have to send out like 100. You have to send out like 100 resumes. Unless, I mean, I would imagine, for example, you're, doctorate level. So like, you probably don't have to send out 100 resumes. But,
no, and that's part of why I got the doctorate. Because I don't
because
play
the higher the level of education that you get, generally, the more specialized you are, and generally, the less places you can work. but the higher the pay, the better the benefits, etc. Whereas some dumb like me that just has a BA, you know, I got to go out and send out 100 resumes.
It's
you know
funny
what I mean?
you
Like,
say that because literally I was just having a conversation about this with another fellow colleague of mine who also does freelance for IGN and also GameSpot. And one of the things that we got into specifically uniquely to the games industry is that a lot of the people, especially in the top jobs, don't always have the BA. They don't always have the degrees in journalism. Some of them don't even have college degrees. So it's a very case-by-case basis, but it's also a lot of the perseverance of the people. And I think also a lot of the diligence of looking up like what's needed in the moment. I think specifically for gaming and journalism, and especially entertainment journalism, I think that's a frequent occurrence, unlike a lot of other industries, like, you know, being a doctor, being in music, etc. It's very case by case.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily saying that you need a BA, but I was just sort of like doing some self-deprecating humor with Richie, because I joke around because, you know, he has a PharmD, so he's a pharmacist, and then you know, so that's doctor level. I'll refer to him as Dr. Richie, Dr. Walls.
Dr. Richie.
And then I just, you know, I'll be like, well, just, you know, his girlfriend comes over and she's also a pharmacist. So I'm just like, I'm just the dummy, you know, like in the girlfriend. But so I wanted to ask you, you know, what are, and I know it's different on a company by company basis, but let's say someone wants to break in, maybe do some freelance writing or something like that. What, other than the obvious, like being able to write, having good spelling and grammar, being detailed, what are these companies looking for in someone? Like, what do you think the qualities are that would set someone above the competition and be able to get that phone call back or that email back or whatever?
It's funny too, because you'd be surprised how many people forget about that basic stuff about wanting to write, because like when they send out emails or when they send out tweets and stuff, you would think like they just forget that stuff, you know. And a lot of people that I know that look at applications or look at pitches, really freelance pitches, whenever they're sending a pitch for a specific editorial they want to write to get paid for, like stuff like that always comes up as like, hey, maybe you should learn how to actually write a sentence in an email before you start doing an editorial. I'm just saying. But a lot of the stuff that's helped me and helped a lot of other people that I know that are getting out there, getting freelance work, or at least getting these jobs like that, is not only sticking to their word and actually being honest. I think honesty gets taken for granted in more occasions than one. When you can't do something, but you could do something else, you have to be able to be open and be able to talk about this stuff without the fear of like being penalized. Because I get it, you know, everybody wants to be good at everything and everybody wants to be the best at everything. So you could be very malleable and the types of stuff you could do. But sometimes there's going to be that instance where you're not going to be the best person for that particular thing. So it's always good to be open about that with the person you're talking to, the editor, the whoever's in charge at the time, because they'll remember that. They'll remember like, oh, okay, I might not be able to use them for this type of genre of game or this editorial, but there's something else I could use down the line, or maybe I'll over here unrelated to this that'll be able to help you out. And it's good to build relationships like that, not only through your honesty, but also your punctuality, you know, your diligence, you know, your professionalism. You're not out here wilding, getting upset when somebody says no to a pitch to you. I think a lot of people, especially games media people that wants to break into it, fall into that trap. You know, a lot of people say the same thing sometimes about YouTubers, but I think again, it's two totally different atmospheres, and there's a lot more gray area between the two. Again, that they're very different when it comes to stuff like that. I find that now, especially once you get past a certain point in games media, you know, when you're a journalist of so many time, when you're working for a certain outlet, you get away with a little bit more stuff here and there. But when you're really starting out, you know, it's good to be conscious about what you put out there. It's not about the same as like being afraid of like, you know, not saying certain political things or stuff like that. I think that now in this day and age gets a little bit too crazy, but being honest, being diligent, and being kind of like a real person, coming off as genuine, I think is what really stands out to people outside of game knowledge, outside of genre knowledge, outside of, you know, being willing to work, and outside of being, you know, punctual and all this other stuff. It's always good to be genuine, because I feel like that's going to speak to more people often.
Yeah. I think that's definitely very good advice. I think that I don't know if anyone watching is necessarily trying to, you know, work for any of these companies, but if anyone is, you know, I mean, take some of the stuff to heart, take little gems and nuggets that maybe you haven't thought of before.
And I mean, even if you're not going to go into gaming, this advice is relevant to any
really
job you would apply for.
One thing I also want to mention that I think is important, that's tangential to all that. I think that now these days, especially with social media, especially with a lot of the creators on YouTube that speak on the industry, they tend to speak very ill of some of the other outlets, whether they're large or medium size. I think that's a very bad mindset and a very bad thing to adopt, because let's be real, you're not always going to agree with what an outlet or what somebody puts out and publishes on an outlet. That's true for everything. I don't always agree with what IGN has to say, you know, but at the same time, I'm not out here wilding and actually getting upset that they gave a certain game a score, or the certain people are saying certain things about other people, because it's just rude and it's not right. I think that's a mindset over the last 5 to 10 years that's been kind of like farmed and like really perpetuated. That's really bad, and it does nothing but a detriment to people that want to get into this, because you know, stuff obviously that you say could come back and bite you in the butt. But I think even more so, people are not going to want to work and not want to be around people that are just out there just take jabs at other people or other outlets. I think that's something that people need to put themselves in check with.
Sure, absolutely. Let's jump into some of the comments here real quick. Chops McCartney, who actually made my modified Game Boy Advance that I love. It's over there.
Nice.
It's behind the water one. Yeah, it has has a backlight that has 2 different levels, and oh my god, it's so good. Anyways, nice. He says college isn't needed for a successful career life. More often than not, clever entrepreneurship is needed. I think that's correct. I think that it's not necessarily needed. I think that if you don't have an education, I think means you have to hustle even harder.
I think it depends on the field. Like, I think you would be a bad pharmacist if you did not have a degree.
I agree.
In pharmacy.
I agree. Yeah, right. I don't want a non-doctor working on this. Like,
yeah.
But like, if you're really going, the difference between like a steady job and like true like groundbreaking stuff, you're not going to be. A lot of the people who are like the big money makers are not people that have gone to college, because that's really not what you learn at college. You learn what we've already figured out.
Sure.
So yeah, when it comes to like the big top of the tree, you don't always need an education. And then depending on what field you're in, if you can speak the English language, you can probably write the English language.
Like for example, my uncle runs, basically they do like the sound setups for band. So like back in the 90s, his big main client was Metallica, and he did very well for himself, being basically responsible for the sound of every Metallica concert. So and obviously it branched out to a bunch of different clients, but he doesn't have a college education. He just knew sound and he hustled his ass off.
Exactly.
I don't know what he's worth, but I'm sure it's in the millions. I was always very jealous going to their house. It was on, live on, was it Grosseal, that island?
Oh, yeah.
And it's big houses. I would always go there. It'd be like huge multi-car garage. Back in the day, they'd have the giant, like, TV that was like sort of a back projection for that like soft screen. Like they had all the cable channels, including all the like softcore, you know, in the evening, you know, once things got a little bit, you know, later in the evening. And I was just like, oh my God, to live this life, you know what I mean? But he didn't have a college education, but he also hustled his ass off. So I think that it helps. A lot of the resumes that I've taken in from individuals, I've noticed there's like, in terms of like the quality of the grammar and the spelling and the resume, it tends to be better with a college education, but not always. You could still have that quality with a college education, but it's not required. But I do think you have to.
And I still have plenty of
hustle
college level friends who don't capitalize things on Facebook, and I want to punch them every time.
But we also know plenty of people with college education that are not making good money and not hustling. Right. I think you need to hustle regardless of what you do.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're not, if you're not hustling, you're not making cash. You know, period. The end.
And also willing to work. I think that just people, again, whether it's just going for a particular job or even collaboration, I think that also that could be applicable to YouTubers and even games media people too. Just the collaboration and being willing to work with other people on stuff that you don't know, to kind of acquire other stuff that it's going to help you out in the long run.
Absolutely. By the way, Lady Pelvic is in the chat,
hey!
Which is good because she's actually one of our moderators. Nice. So now someone can actually pay attention to the chat.
Nice.
And we also have a comment here to do. Where is it? Lady Pelvic says, "Hey."
Hey.
Somebody says I look like Lars Ulrich's lost son.
There was a lot of.
I am a much better drummer than Lars Ulrich.
There was a lot of.
I don't play drums, but I'm better than Lars.
So Michael Mitchell Koppel says not gay, but I like that big Richie smile.
And then you go 4 lines down, and there's exactly the same format. I'm not gay, but I would gladly have Richie's man children.
There you go.
Hey,
I'm not gay, but I would
get you a Calvin Klein commercial.
Yeah, exactly. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So,
I'm not gay, but I would also do both those things.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us here, we are having...
Yeah, just say Michael.
Yeah, Michael. I have to de-phlegm here real quick because I've been talking so much. Let's go ahead, circle back around to the Anthem conversation, but switch topics to Reggie.
Okay, yeah.
Leaving Nintendo. I want to hit the big heavy hitters just in case our power goes out again. But in case you don't know, Reggie is leaving Nintendo. He's no longer going to be the president of Nintendo of America, starting in April, I believe.
Is he transitioning into any sort of different role, or is he just done?
No, he's done.
He's done.
Good for him.
It's his retirement, he says. So
I think he's had plenty of career. He deserves to walk off into the sunset.
He may do something later on. Who knows? He might get bored.
Some cushy consulting job.
Yeah.
The originator every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Pelvic says, please talk about Anthem. I still don't know shit. So we will.
But I do feel like this is just like the start of a really bad movie where it's just like, do you guys not see that you're putting Bowser in the top position?
Yeah.
Is the top hat really fooling everybody?
Yeah, exactly, right? So Doug Bowser, who I think was one of like the VPs or one of the presidents there, but not like the top president, is taken over as the president of Nintendo of America. And obviously has been very involved, has had a presence at Nintendo for quite some time. But I really think that this is a major shift in a couple of different ways, because obviously Iwata passed away, and he was president. And I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it because he's deceased. I think he was a great guy, great programmer, great developer, terrible fucking president of Nintendo. Terrible. Hated his decisions. It was just awful. He, I believe, was partially responsible for a lot of... Did I just spit in your eye? Is that why you did that?
No, there was a dryness.
Okay.
Reggie should be the CEO of Activision.
Oh, man.
But, I think Iwata was somewhat responsible for the Nintendo mentality of, regardless of what we do, it's going to be good. The Wii U is beautiful, and you all need to love it. Region locking is fantastic.
I think it's a fair criticism.
Yeah, we don't need anything beyond just basic 720p. Like, it's... I feel like a lot of the ideas of Nintendo will survive because it's Nintendo was very Iwata. And I think he was a good person. I just don't think he was a great president. And I think that it was a terrible thing that he passed, but I do think that Nintendo is in better hands now. But it's interesting because Reggie was also sort of part of that era. But he also launched the Switch in the US. And, Reggie, of course, didn't have as much decision power because it was basically... Nintendo of Japan kind of trickling down those decisions, and he had to sort of go with them. I'm sure he had some say, but probably not a lot. So it'd be interesting to see sort of this new Nintendo we're seeing, where region locking isn't a thing, where they're sort of partnering with Xbox for cross-play, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a little bit. And so what's going to happen when now Reggie is out of the way, who I think did a very good job, but I've always felt was very corporate. Like, he very much reminded me of the Nintendo Directs that Iwata would do, where he'd be like, please understand, here is a game. I am going to tell you... See, I did too.
I'm not the only one who those fall out on.
Tell you about a game. And I am not going to show emotion because I'm reading from a script. And, like, he wasn't quite as bad as that, but I feel like he was very... It was like he had passion, but he came off as impassionate to me. So I'm sad to see. I'm sad to see him go, but I'm curious and excited to see what's next.
When he first came onto the scene, I felt like it was a little bit different. Like, he was actually kind of marketed for his dynamicism when he first got assigned to that post.
Yeah, I feel like he was very involved in the fans, which I liked. I think he was very into the memes, which I liked. I do think that. Honestly, I think I'm biased because during the Wii U era, he had to defend it. And that was his job. And he would just lie to defend it.
There's nothing else you could do.
You ever see the interview with him and Jeff Keighley about Batman Arkham City on the Wii U?
I think so. It's been a while.
Classic.
Yeah. And I remember him talking about the Wii U, and he'd be like, well, now we have HD. That box is checked off. But it's like, it's not just about HD. You know, it's like there's more to it than just HD. There's frame rate. There's what type of HD. There's, you know, there's a lot of things going on. But point is that I did genuinely like him. I think that he was a good president, but I'm curious to see with his departure what will happen next. But why don't you tell us your thought process on this?
Honestly, I think that, you know, he's earned his retirement straight up. I think that when, like we were talking about before, when he first came out, he was very in your face. I mean, some of the first things that he said, he's all about kicking ass, taking names, and we're about playing games. I think that was unheard of for a Nintendo presentation at the time. I think he was also instrumental with a lot of the stuff with the directs and such with the Nintendo 3DS. I think that with him, Iwata, Miyamoto, and a lot of the other people over there, Bill Trent to an extent, you know, they really helped not only become faces that were associated with the Nintendo brand and made the Nintendo Directs and the presentations exciting and interesting. They became household names, or at least common names amongst gamers that were in the industry and people that were outside of it. I think he was part of that whole era, and that's what made it fun to be a Nintendo fan, despite all the stuff that they could be rightly criticized for, especially Iwata, especially the Wii U era with all that stuff, because that was just a stubborn Nintendo being stubborn Nintendo. Even though they've done, they provided great first-party games on that platform, even though there was a lot of other stuff that was wrong that prevented them from really sparking what was going on with the other two platforms like that. I think that now that he's leaving, I think between him, obviously with Iwata's passing, a lot of the other shakeups that are going on over there, this is also going to show, I think, a lot of new blood coming into Nintendo, where there's a lot of different decisions being made. The stuff with Xbox, to me, is very un-Nintendo-like, because again, you look at Sony, which is also another Japanese company. They're very apprehensive about letting something like Game Pass be on their platform, because why let your competition be on your platform where they could have everybody go to PlayStation Now or PlayStation Network? And for Nintendo, them being the oldest company in the industry, they are literally the dinosaur of this industry, and they're credited for a lot of stuff. You would never think of them being so stubborn as in their ways would allow something like that. But that just tells me that a lot of stuff is coming from both Nintendo of America and also newer, fresher faces and fresher ideas that are getting injected to that top level that I think is going to benefit them in the long run, honestly.
I think so too. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but it's funny because when I was in Seattle, you don't really realize this, but Nintendo has their headquarters, and like a half block away is Microsoft.
Yeah, I've been here. I've actually been there. I went to go visit Bungie, and it's like right around the corner. Not too long.
It's funny because they're neighbors. You know what I mean? Like, at least Nintendo of America is obviously not Nintendo of Japan. But
when am I getting Mario Office?
God. You see, that's the thing. The Nintendo Japan, I think, is where the stubbornness of Nintendo comes from. Because even if you look at the stuff with YouTube, when there was a whole big controversy about Nintendo being very stubborn with YouTubers and copyright, even with the tournaments with Smash Brothers, a lot of that stuff, Nintendo of America PR really wasn't the ones that were doing that stuff. That was coming from Japan. And I think a lot of people recognize that. And I think there's been a lot of clashes with that over the last few years. And maybe now things are really starting to change up.
Yeah, well, again, under Iwata, there was a whole thing where it's like, you know, even with our show, we would... Like, because we have like a Facebook thread where we have all of our different cast members and stuff talking to us, and certain cast members would always complain that I always had the music too low on gameplay. But that was during that time I'm like, we're gonna get a copyright strike. We're gonna get kicked off of YouTube. Like, I need to keep it at like 30 decibels or below because it needs to just be vaguely audible, you know. And if it's not, then we're gonna get knocked. And they're like, no, raise it. I'm like, I can't. So like nowadays I can because Nintendo has relaxed that policy completely. But again, it's just like the region locking. It's like very, you know, old school mentality, you know. Richie, was your body even ready for this?
No, but what you were mentioning about the kicking ass, taking names, we're all about playing games. I think that was a really big thing for Nintendo, though, because when they announced, or when they brought him on, that was kind of like the peak of the Nintendo is kiddie stuff for little children, and they don't really care about the adult market. And I don't think people care as much nowadays about that type of stuff, but I think his attitude was a big part of getting people to, even if they still believe that Nintendo was kind of the kid-friendly choice, that there was something for adults.
It was very blunt.
Yeah.
It was very, very blunt because I never looked at Nintendo as a kiddie platform. Granted, they had a lot of kiddie family-friendly games because let's be real, SNES and N64 had a lot of mature games scattered throughout. And I'm not talking about just Mortal Kombat. There was other games on there, especially on the N64 with Iguana, Midway, and a lot of the other stuff going on with them. But I think that was the one time, at least the first time I can remember in the industry, where Nintendo was so blunt about that stuff. And I think that added something that added a little bit more mystique, and I think it added a little bit more fun to the console wars that were going on at the time.
Yep. Yeah. Quick comment here. Booty Warrior. Love it.
Ooh.
Love it.
The Booty Warrior.
Who is this H4G guest? Never seen him before. His name is Jakejames Lugo. He is a professional writer, producer in the gaming industry, and his name is in the title of the video. So check out the title of the video for more information. And also, this is a good time to mention that your Twitter and your YouTube channel is in the description. So if anyone is interested in checking out more, all of that is there, including some of the panels that he's done. I think I watched the Lumicon one. I think it's down in Florida.
There's two.
Yeah, two of them. I watched two
and
of them.
And also, there's another one. I don't know if you saw it, but I also spoke at Miami-Dade College down here. I spoke to a lot of game developers, up-and-coming game developers about the interactions with the media and stuff that I felt like they could get a benefit from getting into this career.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the way we can sum up most of the rest of the recent comments is that if Doug Bowser does not deliver Mother 3, he will be considered a failure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, a lot of the reason why they won't localize it is because of, what was the Maggie Pie or whatever, or sort of Magi?
I thought it was the music and other licensing stuff that's like Japan only, I thought.
No,
it's pretty bad.
A lot of it is that there are these magical characters that are sort of transgender.
Oh,
and
okay.
But the thing is, if there's that concerned about it, why don't they
I don't think that'd be a problem, though. Honestly,
I don't either.
I don't think it would be
Nintendo
either.
has a very bad... They don't read
the
times very well.
They're like more like hermaphroditic, I think.
I feel like they understand what people are going to like about games very, very much. When it comes to like story and demographics, they just have no idea.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If you have something that's going to be controversial in a game, even if it's not really that controversial, slap a teen rating on it. Just don't call it E for everybody. Slap a teen rating on it. Boom, we warned you. You know what I mean? Like, it's what's the big deal? Like, who cares? Just put a different rating on it. And a lot of the themes in Mother
for transgender.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of stuff in Mother 3 is like very cutesy, but also very warped. Like they do all these chimera experiments where they like mutilate animals. You don't see it, but it's like
that's something you don't get already in Undertale. Again,
yeah.
So good.
The thing though that I think is important with Bowser that we should acknowledge, I think that it's going to be more interesting when he comes. And again, it feels weird saying like talking about Bowser at this point. That's going to be fun in some discussions, but I think what's going to be interesting is if moving forward now that in April when he takes over and he's going to start doing his thing, is he going to be also one of those people like Reggie getting in front of the camera during the Nintendo Direct?
Yeah,
is he going to be another personality? I think that's a much more important question because if not him, are we just still get Miyamoto? Are we still going to get Bill? Are we still going to get some of these other people? Are we going to see newer faces like what we've been getting the last couple of Directs? Those are questions I feel like are going to be much more impactful leading into E3 later this year.
Yeah, well, he actually does have a pretty big stage presence already. And quick thing, Pelvic Gaming says, wait, don't spoiler it. Oh my god, that's not a spoiler. The chimeras you see you beat the first chapter of Mother 3. The T-Rex was a chimera. That was an example of what they were doing. So you already knew that. In terms of the hermaphroditic characters, I didn't tell you anything about them. So nothing's spoiled. You're fine. You're good. Oh, the Maggie size? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's the Maggie size. Maggie size med gypsies, or something. Yeah, they're kind of like
Maggie size gypsies.
I see med gypsies.
Gypsies, yeah. But they're sort of like these hermaphroditic, transgender, sort of they're
gender
fluid type of characters. Oh, I thought you were. She says, Tony, I thought you were going to continue it.
He does like to go a little bit too close to the truth sometimes.
Exactly. Anyways, yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
We'll find out. All right. So next up is we're going to be discussing the ending of Mother 3. And
spoilers.
Exactly. Let's talk about the Masked Man. No. Anyways. So let's jump back to Anthem. So, Richie, it's funny because both of you mentioned talking about Anthem in different respects. So one of them was about the topic that Jakejames mentioned basically this YouTuber claiming that EA allegedly forced them to remove their watermark on their review because they were part of this game reviewing program, but he said negative things. But let's backtrack to what you originally wanted to talk about, which were the lukewarm reviews for Anthem.
Right, and I think pretty much everybody that I talked to was kind of expecting this to be a letdown, just because it's BioWare and they're kind of doing something that is very much outside of their comfort zone. Like it's not a story focus. It's doing a game that has basically been done twice now in Destiny. And I mean, it has a lot of cool ideas. It's got
she's freaking out in the comments.
Look at him and try not to laugh.
I couldn't stop. I'm sorry, I just can't stop. Anyway, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to say the ending of Mother 3. Okay, it's not. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to give you any details.
But it's just I don't think anybody was really expecting it to be that great, except for EA.
Yeah.
And now, the reviews are coming out. They're pretty solidly mediocre. They're not terrible, but
sure,
we're talking 6s, 7s.
Just a
are you doing okay, Tony? Do we need to?
I don't know why I thought
do you need me to cut the power for a minute?
I need to cut the power. I don't know why I found it so funny. I don't know.
This chat pretty much sums up my thoughts precisely. Mass Effect died for this.
So, anyways, okay.
And you could have said that about Andromeda too.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop laughing. Go ahead, Reggie.
No, I pretty much said my piece. I don't think anybody was expecting this to be that good, and especially after Andromeda had such a shaky road, I was pretty much convinced this was going to be a stinker, and now it appears to be.
Yeah. So, John's here as well. He says hello. Hey, John.
Woo!
John is raging
What up,
Faraday
John?
Cage. He was going to join us as well, but he was also having internet problems because of the bomb cyclone. So, unfortunately, I don't think it was that funny.
It wasn't.
I don't know why. I'm just giddy tonight. Because Richie's here. I just get giddy around the ones I love.
Not gay, but he loves that big Richie smile.
I love that big Richie smile. All right. Anyways, Jakejames, tell us about this whole issue with E3. I keep saying I want to say E3 because we've been talking about E3 and Reggie, but EA and sort of this alleged forcing of a YouTuber's hand.
Before I dive into that, I also wanted to mention too about Anthem is that I saw Anthem at E3 before it came out. I was able to go check it out during the press conference and stuff, and I was never really down with it. And again, I say that as someone that dived into Destiny and Destiny 2 did and was in that ecosystem a lot. Anthem looks cool, but it was never something that I really thought that latched onto me and latched onto a lot of people. I think a lot of the people that are playing or was interested in something like Anthem were also the same people playing Destiny 2, also playing The Division, I think, which is also another game that's very similar to that. I think there's a lot or way too many of these style of games and not enough time to go around for people. And I think also with Anthem is having the same problem that both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 and even the Division 1 had, is that it's very empty compared to what it eventually could be. And I think people are using that as an excuse, and people are just don't want to hear that right now because you want games right now. If you're going to drop $60, you're not paying it for an experience you're going to have like a year down the line. You want that experience right now. And I can understand and sympathize with that because I feel the exact same way. So I was never really down with it. I was never really caring for it, to be honest with you.
And I play a bunch of Paradox games, and they have that sort of iterative development cycle now.
Exactly.
That's kind of their MO, but you still get a game on launch. I feel like the problem here is you don't.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So as far as the EA thing, now here's the thing. This story changed a couple times. And I know I put a thing on Twitter about it where I was talking about the idea of taking money for reviews is a bad thing. And then people got mad because they thought I was talking about EA and Anthem itself when I wasn't. But really where the story was that a YouTuber came out and said that he was getting checked by EA basically for putting out his thoughts in a review because he's part of the EA Game Changers program, which is EA's sponsored content type of thing where they do not just for the YouTubers, but also other games media people and a variety of different individuals that love covering EA games. Not necessarily that they're saying positive things about EA, but they're just covering them, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
And that's totally cool and that's fine. Where I think it got really out of hand was when VG247 put out the story. They were the first ones to put that out there because they talked to the YouTuber out there, actually, saying all this stuff. And a lot of people took issue with that because the other EA Game Changers were saying like, hey, this isn't really that true. This isn't the case. And I think the community manager of EA came out in a statement, I think on Twitter, saying like, listen, the only reason why we asked you to remove the watermarks because the disclosure and a couple other stipulations weren't really fitting right, which is fine, which is standard practice. That happens all the time. I think that just with the headline that what it had with VG 24/7 is what caught it fire and why everybody got up in arms about that. So the whole idea about taking money for reviews is still bad, but I don't think this was the case. And I think that EA just caught a bad rap because of that.
Yeah, and I looked at some of the updated stories too, because I was following it a little bit when Tony sent it to me earlier in the week, and it sort of like they were talking about like apparently the watermark that he was using was the wrong one. Like they had another one that they wanted him to use, and then like you were saying about the disclosure. So I don't know. It's kind of a he said, she said sort of thing as far as what actually went down, but it's just, I don't know. I can see why a company would want to have people do reviews of their product, but I just don't know how you can ever believe that a review, even if it is a totally legitimate review, I'm never going to believe that a review that EA paid for is honest.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though, about this story, about two parts to it. Number one, they never really paid anybody for the review. It's sponsored content, and they're still covering in the way they're going to cover it. That's the EA Game Changers program. So it's not really giving someone money for a review. That was clearly was not happening according to what the updates had later on. And I think that's what a lot of Game Changers were saying. But at the same time, you know, outside of that, if you're not part of that type of program and stuff, it just looks bad. That was the point that I was making in my own tweet, is that listen, YouTubers and other creators and stuff, don't get involved with that, because even the optics of it just looks bad to everybody, not just EA or just the company, but you yourself, because they're coming from all these different perspectives, not understanding what's going on. It just makes everything into a mess.
Yeah, it kind of does. It's sort of a tricky world with that sponsored content, especially again, anything with EA is they just have such a bad rap at being non-consumer friendly that it just is hard to trust something that's been set up in that way. Even if maybe that YouTuber was using the wrong watermarks or did something to aggravate them that was above and beyond a poor review. You know, or
even wasn't telling the full story. Maybe he got things wrong straight up. That's why a lot of other EA Game Changers were saying that.
Yeah, which is why I like to say allegedly, you know, because it is hard to say, because it's like a lot not. I mean, if a bunch of those Game Changers were coming forward and saying, yeah, you know, I had a negative review and EA made me take it down, you know, I might be more apt to completely believe it. I don't know.
The thing about that I thought was weird when I put my tweet out and I saw other people talking about this stuff, is that some of the people, or the majority of them, weren't going to VG 24/7 specifically to actually clarify that. It was only until later on, like hours later, when a couple in the comments of the article started saying this stuff, and I guess they talked to them over DM, that things got clarified. But the majority of those that were upset about that just did not want to bother going to VG 24/7 to clarify that stuff. And I think that contributed to part of the problem.
All right, so I think we pretty much said our piece with this one. I'm going to take a brief intermission and get some water for my throat.
Okay.
Maybe I'll pee while I'm up. I don't know. The night's young.
It's okay, man. Take a pee. You got it.
I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna pee. It's gonna be a good time. So Richie, a little song and dance while I'm gone. Keep them entertained. Keep them moving.
We can talk some random stuff, Richie. We got this.
That's good. Just keep that tone.
I'm just gonna do this. That E-Bombs World G.I. Joe.
Oh, you know what, Richie? So I just got a bunch of stuff from my mom, from my baby book and stuff. I think this should be another thing that we auction.
Nice.
It's just my handprint from 1990.
Dude, that's priceless. You can't auction that off. Those are your precious memories.
She also gave me my baby book. It's like, isn't that something you want, Mom? She's like, hell no, I don't want you.
Oh,
anyway,
man.
That would be hilarious if we auctioned.
I did hear about Belgium outlawing loot boxes.
That's a whole nother can of worms. That's like crazy. Like people, again, that goes back even to EA with Star Wars Battlefront 2. I think that between that and a lot of other games that are really kind of, not taking advantage of people, but just the perception of it is like they're taking advantage of people, that the conversation gets all messed up, and then the litigation comes afterwards in other countries. They even almost did that in Hawaii because of EA.
Really? I haven't heard about that.
Too. There was a senator, I believe, I think it was a senator or somebody that was really important in Hawaii that was trying to outlaw loot boxes, or at least get EA in trouble because of Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the uproar about it.
Right. I don't know that I believe that outlawing them is the right choice, but I feel like they got to do something, because it really is
putting something on the box. Putting something on the box, I think is acceptable because you can't fault the companies for wanting to offer people extra opportunities for them to make money, to actually pay for stuff. Because I think that loot boxes and microtransactions get a bad rap because it's with people that are complaining about that stuff, but they're not the ones buying it. Because if it was really a problem, these companies wouldn't be seeing such big profits off of just that alone. It wouldn't actually be showing that it's working. So even if it's just like, okay, on the back of the box, say like, hey, there's microtransactions like this, to let people and their parents know about stuff like that so like kids don't go around like buying stuff. I think that's important. I think that's acceptable. To outright punish the companies though, for stuff like that, I think is wrong and is applicable in the wrong ways to certain companies. Like, I don't think EA should be punished for having the loot box stuff the way they did. Granted, it didn't work within the context of the game, but they're not out here doing something illegal. They're not out here like doing gambling type of stuff.
Right, and I think it depends. Like when it's things like League of Legends, where you're just sort of unlocking skins and stuff like that with your pay-to-play element of it, I have absolutely no problem with it.
Me neither. Yeah.
When it affects the competitive balance, then I start to have some concerns. But
I agree.
I guess it depends, sort of like how competitive is the game, how much is it really matter if you're like a winner or loser, or versus like. I feel afraid.
Do you want another beer?
Yeah, I'll have one more.
I think he was like back there thinking of something like, yeah, you tell him, Richie. You tell him, Rich. You got this. You let him know what's good.
What's that?
Is there a particular type that you would like?
I'll have another cream beer.
Okay, that might have been the last one.
That would be fine. I'll have like something basic, nothing heavy.
Okay.
But yeah, the competitive balance side of it is a much trickier problem to unpackage, because I'm with you. I don't feel like games are such an expensive thing to make. I feel like you have to do things that can make them more profitable. Otherwise, you just won't have AAA games anymore.
Exactly. The companies can't sustain themselves. I think that though. I think I'm with you though on like the competitive stuff, especially when it's like games that are played at like high tournament levels that are having big pots and stuff. I think that's when it becomes a problem. But I think that the companies are at least smart enough to know that.
All right,
there's very few instances like that where it becomes predatory like that. Like obviously EA, the way they did it with Battlefront 2 wasn't right, but like there's far worse and much more crazier things in the games industry right now that we need to be worrying about rather than stuff like that.
AAA games in general are unsustainable. You're probably right about that, to be honest.
To an extent, yeah. To an extent. But again, different companies are different. And like there's some AAA companies that make it work because they put a lot of stuff in their games and they do different things differently than some other companies.
Let's switch topics here now that I've empty.
Did you go to the bathroom?
I went potty.
Nice.
I went potty, guys.
I can stop worrying about you pissing on me. That's
well, yeah. I had aimed it over towards you the whole time, and I was just looking at it like, "Listen, buddy, if I go, it's on you." Because of the direction
I didn't realize
my
that
direction of my penis would be the reason.
I didn't realize that there was a lock on your bathroom door.
Oh, okay.
So I was definitely like when I went to the bathroom for the first time, I was like. Kind of like blocking my junk in case Thomas tried to break in, and then he tried to break in.
I thought you were already washing your hands by that point.
I was washing my hands by that point.
No, definitely use the lock because he doesn't understand decency or.
I'm aware he's at the age where he wouldn't.
No, yeah. So he's just like. Richie comes over and he's like, Uncle Richie, go potty. He's going potty. and Anna's like, give him some privacy, like leave him alone. The other day he goes, because sometimes he muxes his words, he tries to say a bunch of different things at once, and he goes, Mr. Mommy, go potty.
Is Anna a maid ditzy?
Yeah, exactly. But no, he's a cutie pie. But anyways. Let's move on to a different topic. I want to talk about some of the more recent Hard4Games comments that I've dug up that I thought were kind of interesting, and I'm gonna have them up. I'm gonna read them, but I'm gonna have them up on the screen for our viewers here. So let's go with this one. Now, Yellow Link 124 says,
"Is that from the with me trying to put the?"
So basically, it says, did that guy lose his arm really?
I'm not that good of an actor. Come on, Yellow Link.
Richie, we were like, basically touched a spinning GameCube disc that was spinning, and he went ah, and then the rest of the episode he just had his arm behind his back. So this guy, wants to know, did he really lose his arm? So
nope, it's perfectly fine.
Still here.
I mean, it's got a little bit of a tremor, but
you should have rolled it. It said that you regenerated like Piccolo. Then you would have been like a baller at that point.
So here's a situation where I just don't give a damn. Here's the next comment. We refer to as the Me channel as Meverse in the We Dev video. So this guy goes, I cringed when you called the Me channel Meverse. And I said, Meverse channel, got it. And because I don't care. Like
obviously not.
I love when I like mispronounce something and ever the comments are like cringe. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm 33 years old. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Like, I do not care whatsoever.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. You can't talk to me like that.
But yeah, so it's like, there was an instance where people were up in arms because I had called Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast. I had called it Sonic Adventure Battle 2. Because there's not people were like, it's not a second battle. There aren't 2 battle games.
Oh my God.
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Like, what the, cringe. And then I made a statement in one of our other videos that I'm like, and I think also in one of our last live stream too, that I do not care about your love of Sonic and my missaying the name of the title. There's so many things that are more important, and that is at the bottom of my list. And I'm going to keep saying Sonic Adventure Battle 2 just to piss you off. So screw you.
Tell them.
Screw y'all. We're doing this thing. Okay, here's another one. Bill, in our Tales episode and also our We Dev episode, was wearing a very sort of vibrant shirt. And Kevin C. wants to know, is Bill wearing his mom's shirt? The answer,
he might be.
He might be.
He really might.
He could be. He could be. What is this?
I think that's the Zelda trailer.
Oh, yeah, that's a Zelda trailer. I think that's all of my comments here.
Well done.
Well done. I did good. I did good, everybody. All right, so let's go on to one of our last topics here, which is the Switch rumors. Now, as we've talked about a little bit before, Nintendo has very publicly said that they have started and are enjoying their cross-play with Xbox. I think that started with Fortnite, if I'm not mistaken, and PlayStation, Sony did not want to be involved in that. But Nintendo,
actually, was it the racing soccer game?
Might have been.
I forgot.
Rocket League.
Rocket League could be. Yeah,
Rocket League. Yeah, Rocket League. I think Rocket League was the first one to cross-platform.
Well, regardless,
that
they
makes
have
sense because it's on every platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they have this cross-platform play, which is good for gamers. It is a consumer-friendly decision, right? And generally speaking, when you make consumer-friendly decisions, your business tends to grow. My previous job did not make a lot of consumer-friendly decisions, and they didn't grow for a long time. So it's just the way that it goes. So there have been rumors that Switch will be getting access to, the Xbox Game Pass. And who knows, there's rumors that have been snowballing from this that maybe they'll get some sort of a weird version of Xbox Live or something like that, where it'd be incorporated into it, which would be a big jump in terms of the quality of Nintendo's online services. So I don't know if it'll go as far as that. I think probably somewhere in the middle is where it'll land. But what are our thought processes on this?
I would love for it to go all the way. It won't, but I don't really play games online that much, so I don't have the Nintendo Online service, partially because I don't play games online, and partially because I hear it is a pile of steaming garbage. And I don't want to reward people for putting a bad product out there, because not buying things is my only power in this capitalist system.
That's right.
But I don't think it's going to become to the point where Nintendo's just going to outsource their online experience. But I think anything they can take /learn from the people who are doing it well is much appreciated. Because it's so bad. You don't even really understand how they can come up with such a bad system, but they do it every time.
Because it's Nintendo. Because if you got to keep in mind, think about it in the Wii U era or in the Wii era, it was how much worse it was. So this is a significant improvement, but it's still Nintendo. So it's like they have these weird growing pains where they are super innovative, but also behind at the same time. And like nothing said that more than toward the end of the Wii's life cycle when everyone had HD TVs. And definitely during the Wii U life cycle. But I think that the lack of region locking, the cross-play, the ease of the sort of iron curtain of Nintendo music on YouTube is really a great direction. So I think this is just another piece of it that Nintendo's sort of going in that good direction. But Jakejames, give us your thought process on this.
Oh man, it's a multifaceted issue because I'm with you. I'm with you on the idea that it's a very consumer-friendly move. I think we win in the end. Us as consumers, not even me as a games media person, and you guys as content creators, we win as just gamers in the end because we're going to get more stuff that's going to be different that we never thought that was possible. That's very cool. Now, I don't think we're going to get Xbox Live on Nintendo Switch. I don't think that's going to happen. I would more believe that maybe Microsoft will probably help out Nintendo a little bit on their online infrastructure, which is desperately needed in more ways than one. And I'm not just talking about the NES stuff that you get with Nintendo Switch Online. I think that they need to make the service a little bit more stable for games online. You know, the slowdown for many games like Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, and a lot of others is ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Like there should be no reason why it's so terrible on a connection or any internet connection that's like phenomenal, especially when my other consoles are just as great, better, like by 1,000 miles. The other thing on top of that too, I think that also this opens up with Game Pass being on Nintendo Switch, which I think is a real thing. I think it's a totally legit thing that we're going to have access, or at least that ecosystem of Nintendo fans is going to have access to those Xbox-style games or those Xbox ecosystem games. I think this opens up the way for other cool collaborations between the two companies. And the one who loses out on all this because of their stubbornness is Sony, because of the cross-platform stuff. They've been very iron curtain about having that cross-platform play between between the different game consoles. And a lot of it has to do with money. A lot of it has to do with the microtransactions, because Sony, and like any other company, is going to want their consumers and their people to buy their microtransactions on their console. They want to buy them to buy their stuff on PlayStation Network. They're not going to want the cross-platform. If like you're on Nintendo Switch and like I'm on Xbox One and we have our own microtransactions, we're going to go play with PlayStation people. We're going to have our own little stuff like that, so we don't have to go and spend money again on the other platform. I think that's part of it. I think that also this move between, or at least, you know, whatever's going on between both Microsoft and Nintendo is going to open up other stuff for some of our favorite games. I really think that these are the first signs that we're going to get stuff like Banjo-Kazooie and Smash Brothers, or at least some Rare type of stuff involving with the Nintendo ecosystem. Because remember, Rare has a legacy with Nintendo of like a big legacy, a very big deal. And now they've been owned by Microsoft for the longest time now. I feel like stuff like that you're going to start seeing become a little bit more possible. But I think that also getting the possibility of certain games on the platform for Nintendo Switch, like the rumored, Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest. Those are games to me that could speak to a Nintendo audience, and I would love to see them make their way to other platforms like the Switch, because I think it could work. But even then, like seeing other stuff just cross over and other things and other types of games be made, and seeing the industry change in a way that only a couple of years ago we thought was impossible. That's very cool. That's very exciting.
I think one of the strangest things about this whole thing is, if you remember back when Microsoft was launching the Xbox One, how anti-consumer friendly it was. Like used games, like always online, like there's like this plethora of things that Sony came out and said, hey, guess what? We're not doing any of that. And then everyone's like, yeah, PlayStation 4.
That was a layup.
And then, so exactly. So now, not only did they sort of backtrack on all of those things, obviously, that was years ago, but now they're doing cross-play with Nintendo. So it's like, okay, well, looks like you learned your lesson and then some, you know, like it seems like it's moving in a really good direction for both of those.
It is kind of interesting to see Sony now as the kind of backward company. Yeah. And like just overall, like unless the PlayStation 5 is one heck of a piece of hardware, I don't think I'm going to buy it, because the exclusives that I stuck around with PlayStation 4 were mainly Metal Gear Solid, to be honest. Yeah. And that's not exclusive anymore. It's not even really a series anymore.
Well,
barely.
Hold on, Richie. I'm gonna say that you should buy a PlayStation 5 and then a couple of years later buy another one and give your original one to me. Like
I like that idea.
Like you did with your PlayStation 4, which I appreciated, by the way.
I shouldn't have bought a PlayStation 4 Pro. I regret that.
I think we should acknowledge this also. I think that, with the different consoles, the different platforms, everybody gets into them for different reasons. And this is only one facet of it, because let's be real, PlayStation 4 is the beast console right now of this generation for more reasons than one. And it's not just the games themselves. What I think also, this is just a telling sign that when a lot of this stuff starts to come into play, and starts to really have some real ramifications. And I don't think even just this year, I think into 2021, 2022, as things start to really transition and stuff, I think that there's still going to be other things that obviously PlayStation and even Microsoft and Nintendo in their own respective ways are going to have their own respective exclusive ecosystems that are still going to be like how the console wars have always been the last couple of decades. But I think also, even more so than that, I think that a lot of the stuff that these companies are seeing for whatever actions that they're taking right now, we just don't see as consumers. We don't see as the general public. We don't understand it because they're looking at different types of numbers and different types of info and different types of lay of the lands than what we actually see. Because let me put it this way. At one point, Sony thought it was a great idea to charge almost $600 for a console because they were Sony, because they were keep in mind, they were coming off the PlayStation 2, which was the biggest selling console ever, period, in all countries of the world. They were really feeling themselves at that point. And obviously, we saw it as like a stupid move because nobody's going to pay $600 for a console, and it did have ramifications later on. But companies are going to move in ways based on what they see, based on what's going on with their companies and stuff. And I think with Sony, either the next console with PlayStation 5, whatever it's going to be, is going to have stuff that's really going to stand out in ways that the other two platforms are not going to do. But I think also on top of that, I know it's really bad when some of the actual developers for some of these big games that have made games for Sony's platform are really calling Sony out on this. I forgot which developer it was or which publisher it was, but it was a big AAA developer for PlayStation 4 of one of their games was really calling them out and be like, yo, listen, Sony, come on. Like now it's a little ridiculous. We all want to do this. We're all ready to go, but you're just holding everybody back.
Yeah.
And I definitely remember seeing that out there, and that's probably, I think that PlayStation did end up relenting and adding a little bit of crossplay, didn't they? Or
no,
am I?
No, it was only for Rocket League. I think it was only for Rocket League at one point, or I don't even think they did at that point. But I know they're dialing back.
I think they did for Rocket League. Maybe that's what I was mistaken about, but maybe I'm just totally wrong.
I remember a news story where they were trying to mess with it and then accidentally turned it on.
Well, that was for Fortnite. That was for Fortnite.
I remember
that. I remember when that came up because everybody was really pissed at Sony because I think they came out and said prior to that saying that it was impossible, and all of a sudden it was on an accident.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it was technically impossible, but then it was just on. Yeah. Real quick here, we have a very insightful comment here from Fartist123. If a hero lives too long, you live to see them become the villain. So
facts.
That's facts for you. That's facts for you. Montana Choit, I don't know, says Minecraft is cross-compatible with everything.
This is a little bit off topic. It's not something we were planning to talk about, but it kind of goes along with this console wars type of line of thinking. But I'm kind of curious about your thoughts, James, on the Epic Store. James John.
James John.
James
see what I'm saying?
God.
Jakesjames.
Jakesjames. Good God. Would you slap
Store.
me, Tony, please?
No, don't slap him.
I'll circle it.
As far as the Epic Store, I think that the Epic Store is a neat idea and developers want to be down with it, but I just don't think they have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. I don't think they have their stuff together, because what makes, Steam as like a platform that people buy stuff so interesting is that not only has it been there for a while and has really kind of installed themselves into the consumer base, it makes it easier just to go on your PC and buy stuff on Steam or whatever platform or console or hardware that you're on. I think that they're trying so hard to be a competition to Steam and try to be everything that Steam isn't, that people are thinks that it's going to be different and such, that they're forgetting about their fundamentals. And I think that before you really get into that stuff, it's like trying to make another game console, because this is what the lesson that Soldier Boy is learning right now. When you're trying to make an actual console right now, you have to get your P's and Q's in line before you could actually start talking brazy and actually start trying to bring something to the table when you have nothing to bring to the table at all. I think that's really where it comes down to. Yeah. And also keep in mind, with the Epic Store, they need more publishers to be down with them, so there's content there for people to buy, so that way people can start converting from Steam to the Epic Store. And I just don't think there's enough there for that to happen.
Yeah, because basically the only thing I have on the Epic Store right now is the Hades Early Access, because it's only available there. But like anything that's also available on Steam, I have on Steam.
Yeah.
And you could preload on Steam. Like, that's the thing. Like, they have that type of stuff already for a bunch of titles, especially new ones coming out this year. It's like, why would anybody, if you've been doing that for a while, jump ship? Like, especially when it's so inundated to you. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I think so. So now the farthest 123 has given us all these.
He's been giving us some
Proverbs,
good stuff overall.
yeah,
I like this. At the end of the day, it's all bits and bytes running through lockdown universal processors. They are all the same, aside from the ability to sign code.
That is facts, too.
And it's true. He's not lying.
He's hitting us with the hard truth here.
Sorry for being Obi-Wan.
Sorry for being Obi-Wan. Oh my goodness.
He's like, we've got the bomb cyclone, now we've got our bomb fartist.
Yeah, exactly here. All right, so let's go over, before we say our goodbyes here, some of the updates that we talked about at the beginning of the video. And let me... Okay, there they are. Okay. Okay.
It's like me forgetting Jakejames's name.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely.
There you go. To be fair, you have to remember two names and the order of those.
And
two.
John James was a politician recently in Michigan who
Oh
was kind of a
we were talking about that.
No,
that's where that comes from.
John James. Now, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. He's like John James.
It's just wires getting crossed. I don't associate you with him at all.
Yeah, he lost good old Stabenow. But anyways, okay, so in case you weren't here at the beginning of the episode, probably around late spring, we will be doing a charity event that's going to be associated with, or on the behalf of, I should say. I don't think they would really associate with a show called H4G but on behalf of the ASPCA, and if you're unfamiliar with them, they do a lot for animal welfare. We have a friend, actually it's Epic Josh's sister-in-law, who's also a friend of ours. They're just constantly hanging out all together and such, who works for them. She does a lot of animal rescue type stuff. A lot of her stories are horrific. It's situations where people are animal hoarders, beating their animals, starving their animals, just awful, awful things, just bottom of the barrel in terms of how people treat another living thing. And what they do is they go in and they try to rescue these animals and give them...
They go up to these animals and they read them comments from H4Games videos to make them feel bad.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. So basically, they rescue them, they try to rehabilitate, find homes eventually, etc. But it's like...
actual bad things, not what I said.
Yeah, it's terrible, is what it... basically, the animals that they work with, they've been horribly abused. So we have decided that we're going to try to do something. We've been wanting to do more charity work. We had done, what was it, the Extra Life charity a little bit. We have done some charity events in the past, but we wanted to get a little bit more involved. So David Perfect 10 Perazzo, he has been basically doing a lot of 3D printing. He created all of these coasters and such with our faces on them. And he created some 3D printed fake 64DD discs, because he's a genius and he can do that.
Fake blue discs. Come on.
Well, I told him specifically no blue because I didn't want anyone to think that we were trying to like counterfeit or anything. But point. That's the wrong box. I'm gonna move this. Here we go. Point is that we thought these would be pretty cool, and essentially what we're going to be doing is like an auction style. Oh, by the way, bye Lady Pelvic. Thank you for joining us. But we thought we'd do like an live auction style thing where you guys can purchase one and PayPal us the money. And then at the end of the day or week or whenever we can collect everything, once everything goes through, we will put up on social media the receipt for our transaction to the ASPCA. So that way you can see and truly verify that, yes, this money did in fact go to help this organization. And of course, obviously, after that point, what we'll do is we'll ship these out on our own dime, basically. So that way all of the money that you pay is going to that organization, essentially. So hopefully, I don't know how much we'll be able to make. I can't imagine it'd be a ton, but I figure any little bit helps. And then probably what we'll do another 6 months from that is do something similar if that was successful, but for an organization that's for the benefit of humans, probably some homeless... I'm not 100% sure yet, but probably like a homeless shelter thing, or possibly like a veterans organization or something like that. Basically counter between this one's for animals, this one's for people, this one's for animals, this one's for people. So that way, you know, you can kind of everybody, maybe you don't, I mean, this sounds bad, but maybe you prefer, not that you don't care about animal welfare, but like maybe you prefer to do something for a human, you know, or vice versa. And so we'll kind of switch off between, and I think that would be kind of good to keep some charity events with the H4 Games. It's always a good thing to do when you can, you know, and we have good people watching. So I figure that, you know, these guys will help if they can, you know, and we'll go from there. Word. Also, we'll be incorporating some of these colored, like multicolored discs, fake discs, into our Patreon rewards as well. So if Patreon is something that you're interested in, that's something we're going to be giving away. And also we're going to be incorporating a voicemail system that our patrons at the $5 and up range can call us and leave voicemails that will play on air for, you know, different questions and such for H4 Games Gaiden.
And I'm just going to stop doing the podcast. I'm just going to be a $5 Patreon, and I'm going to voicemail in all of my comments.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see if we have any comments here.
I'll definitely share it around once you guys start like really putting that out there. I'll definitely share it around for everybody to check out.
Very cool. Appreciate that. Yeah. Can we have a party when H4 Games reaches 5,000 or 50,000 subs?
Has to happen first.
Yeah. Well, yes. we're like 400 away, but no, because our 10-year anniversary is in the summer.
Oh.
So I was thinking we'd kind of combine the two and have like a 50K plus subs 10-year anniversary H4 Games episode.
I like that.
Where we go over, some FAQs. Maybe we'll review an NBA Jam game because that's what we started with was NBA Jam. We're gonna do it on a couch because I know you guys hate it when we review stuff on chairs or standing. So we're gonna do the whole shebang. We're gonna have Baltica number 9. We're gonna get plastered.
I didn't agree to that.
We're gonna have Baltica number 9. We're gonna get plastered because that's the way we used to do it. And we're gonna be like, we're going to have a big blowout, fun episode, and just, it'll be something that not everybody's going to watch or care about, and YouTube's not going to push because the algorithm is not going to be friendly towards, but if you're a hardcore H4 Games fan, this is going to be for you. Right? It's not going to be some development, whatever. It's going to be an old school review, and it's going to be something that you guys want to see because you're fans of the show, not because YouTube's pushing you something. Basically, that's my goal for the 10-year anniversary. The details about exactly what we're going to do, aside from what I just mentioned, we need to discuss with John.
We need to discuss that Baltica number 9 also.
You don't have to, but remember
I want to go. I want to have it back in the day. Just
you drink a whole thing of those.
I could.
You would be dead for like 3 days afterwards.
It's true.
So and John will just have a cap full like he used to.
Oh, man.
You'll just prop me up for the Gaiden the next day, just sort of like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, basically that's what we're gonna do for 10-year anniversary. Like it's gonna be a big thing. We took the long route. I know people that have been around for 10 years on YouTube that have like 1 million subs. Like we are not a model to follow. Let's just put it that way. We took the long way, like, you know, Shania Twain. Might have taken the long way.
But I mean, it's also a testament to the fact that just because you're not 100% successful doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. So
exactly. And we've been having fun.
All 50K of those people ride or die for you. That's what. Really matters.
That's right. You know what? That's the thing is that we were discussing this on one of our meetings the other day, where it's like we want a balance between what YouTube wants and what our audience wants and what we want, and we got to have fun when we're doing it. And we're going to have some fun episodes coming up. And that's what I want, because if we're happy when we're doing it, the episodes will be better. Period. The end. You know? Either my wife's cleaning or Thomas is having a ball out there. We'll see. One or the other. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the announcements. Was there anything I'm missing?
No, I think that hit the whole itinerary.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I covered all that. But yeah, I wanted to thank Jakejames Lugo again, also known as John James Lugo. Jakejames
or James
Lugo.
John.
James John.
James Jake, all over the place.
Also known as JJ. We'll just say that.
Let's stick with that.
Yeah. Anyways, Jakejames, thank you so much for joining us. We've been trying to get together for a little while now, and there's a lot of insight that you have that we don't regarding the industry that we appreciate you imparting onto us and our viewers. So let's definitely do this again. And
of course. I'm down. I'm always down.
Yeah. So basically what we tend to do is once we have a guest on and it goes well like this has, and we have a good sort of rapport, we kind of rotate the guests around. So generally we'll have someone on. We do it every other week, so like, people will come on maybe once a month or 2 months or something like that. So we'd love to invite you again and stay on me about jumping back on for a collab because I
am always down because again, I think what you guys do is fun. I think what you guys do is good. I think you guys enjoy what you love doing. Everybody in the chat, from what I've seen this entire show, loves what you guys do. And I think that you guys put a lot of other positivity that I don't see a lot of the bigger guys doing that I think is more important. So I think that's cool. And I'm always down for that. Anytime you call me up, be like, yo, Jay, let's go. And I'm like, okay, it's time. Let's do this.
That's right.
Like, I'm always down.
Oh, perfect. I was going to make a joke about being one of the bigger guys because I'm so swole in the shirt.
Right? You got the gains. Flex them. Tell them you're wearing a Virtual Boy shirt, but you got some gains to wear it.
But look at my muscles aren't really good, though.
Man, the Fartist is The
Fartist is killing it. He's killing it.
Like, if you farted Chinese philosophy, that's what his words would be.
That would be his mutant power, I think. But yeah, so let's all give our roundtable final thoughts about everything. Richie, go first. Your final goodbyes.
I really hope that this is not the end for BioWare. I want to see another Mass Effect game. I want to see another Dragon Age game. Please don't let Anthem kill you. I don't know if it's going to happen, though, but...
Indeed. Jakejames, what are your final thoughts regarding any of the topics or just to the audience or whatever you want to say?
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody, for you guys for allowing me to be on and everybody listening. Again, you guys don't know me that you guys are watching the chat, but I appreciate the warm reception. I appreciate the love and stuff. And again, just the conversation. I know that you guys love what these guys do. And I love, again, just seeing what they do and seeing, being a part of the conversation. I think it's always cool to do that. As far as like all the topics that we had just now, what we discussed, I think now's an exciting time to be part of this industry, to be a fan of it. I think that there's a lot of things that now, again, as someone that's not just professionally been covering this almost a decade, but even just been a gamer my entire life, there's a lot of things that I've seen throughout the years that I think are very cool that once beforehand I thought were impossible, now are possible, that now are a reality, that are now common practice. And I think that's cool to see that as things change and be a part of it and see it kind of like transform into something even much more bigger and better, that it's going to be even bigger and better beyond that within the next 5 or 10 years and stuff. And I think it's very cool. I think it's dope. And I can't wait to see where things are going to go. It's going to be really awesome.
It is an exciting time to be a gamer. I really do think that we're kind of in a renaissance. Over the last 5 years, I feel like we've been sort of in like a renaissance of gaming, which I've been very excited about.
Definitely.
I do want to remind everyone that if you want more information on our guest, we have his Twitter and also his YouTube in the description below. So make sure to follow him on Twitter, subscribe to him on YouTube, throw some love his way.
Appreciate it.
He's got a lot of good videos, a lot of good insight, and you comment a lot about a lot of the goings-ons in the industry on Twitter, so it's a fun follow. So definitely check it out, everybody. And
one thing I do want to mention that I think you guys might also like too is that I also have some other guests from the different parts of the industry to come on to like some of my talk shows on the YouTube channel. Like recently, I just had Aiden Strawhun, who freelanced for IGN, was on the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show, and also did the stuff for GameSpot that we talked about this type of stuff and even more in detail. A lot of inside baseball. I think you guys will get a kick out of. I've had it from all over the industry. I've had James Chen from the FGC. I've had Colin Moriarty on the show a couple times, and just like a lot of great people that just coming in and just talking about game stuff. And I think that people will love it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's nice to partner with someone like you because you're not going to get any of that stuff on our channel. People won't even associate with us because of our name. No, but no, it's getting better regarding that. But actually, we did have someone tell us once, Justin Silverman, who was our channel manager for a while. Actually, he's on Cinemasker now. He works with them, and he years back was like, Yeah, and I tried to pitch you guys, but they didn't like your name. So like it was to some, not to Cinemaster, but to some other company. It was like an MCN. This was like years ago, before he was even our channel manager. And then when he became our channel manager at Screenwave, I was like, isn't this like an issue still? He's like, no, I think the times have changed. People have just embraced that kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. We'll zone it. But anyways, I did want to comment on a couple of the comments here before we go. Erroneous Click, welcome back to the chat, of course. It says Tony lifts, and I do. I lift toddlers. I mean,
look how red Richie's face got when Tony flexed his muscles.
Oh, yeah, I really feel this, though. That's sort of where the pec meets the...
I think they might just be like catching the reflection of your shirt off of my paleness.
Like I said, I have strength but no build from here up because I'm just lifting children. I'm just lifting children.
You gotta go to the gym with me one day. You gotta work out with me one day.
Oh man, like I used to be a gym rat, man. Seriously, I used to teach martial arts for a living. I'd hit the gym so I'd have the stamina to do martial arts all day. And I tell you what.
But then you took an arrow to the knee.
I took the arrow to the knee.
Yeah, you took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, but I would work out hard, man. I never got big. Like it's just not in my genes.
It's just not your body type.
A lot of his diet too. A lot of stuff is.
A lot of it is.
What you eat.
Yeah, I was even doing. Well, I could get into that another day about my various diets. But anyways, I do want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I do apologize that we had, luckily, only one power outage with the bomb cyclone here in Detroit. But thank you, everybody, for jumping back on even after the power outage. We do appreciate that. Again, check out our guests' channel and Twitter in the description below. And other than that, we'll see you all next time. I'm going to go ahead and end the chat here, but then I'll end the Google Hangouts with you in just a second after that here, so we can chat for a second.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye, everybody. Take care.
Later, chat.